Happy birthday holidays! Today we're going to be making Woody the Snowman.
Tim's American Beauty was made by Robust Tools, America's premier lathe manufacturer. Quality hardened tool rests and live centers too. Robust. Built to turn wood. Enjoyed for a lifetime.
Easy Wood Tools, best in class carbide wood turning tools. Welcome to Woodturning. Before we get started today, I want to thank our sponsors, Robust Lathes and Easy Wood Tools, because without their support, we wouldn't be doing these videos. And they do make great products. That's why I use them and endorse them. Now, today's project is one of my favorite things I've ever done. I designed this guy years ago. Welcome, Woody the Snowman. Nice to meet you.
Thank you for having me.
Anyway, he doesn't melt. This guy will last for generations, so he's an heirloom snowman. He doesn't melt like that other guy. His body is made of Ambrosia Maple. We are using ebony for the buttons and the eyes, and Paduk for the nose, Walnut for the hat, and then the creme de la creme, the holy grail, twigs for the arms. Okay, there's a lot of measurements on this little guy. Woody's complicated. I have my piece of Ambrosia Maple in here. And beginning to wonder now if this is ambrosia or spalted. Anyway, it's beautiful maple. And I just mounted a square blank into the chuck, and I've already made this diameter 1.5 inches wide. What I want to do now is section off the body, the head, the middle, and the bottom. So we're going to turn this on. Got my googles on. And the head is 3/4 of an inch tall. So we'll come up here, right there. So that's going to be the head. The middle of the snowman, Woody, is 1 inch. And then 1.25 inches is the base. So we're just incrementing it up by 1/4 of an inch. Now, for the diameter of the head is 1 inch. So I'm going to take my Easy Wood square scraper and just go in like so. You're going to get a little vibration because I don't have the tailstock up right now. You can put that up if you want to make it quiet. It won't hurt anything. Let me show you actually. Because there's going to be a hat on top of this, and it's going to, we're going to have a hole drilled in there so you don't have to worry about a hole in the head of Woody. So let me come here, get down here under the camera. I've got my calipers set at 1 inch. Just going to let them rest and ride while I go in. So there I am, that's my 1 inch diameter. So let me just come here really quickly. I love this square carbide because it very quickly removes the wood. And since it's perfectly straight, I'm making my 1 inch diameter all the way down without any issues. Now, I want to take my calipers and reset them really quickly to 1.25 inch wide. That's 1.25. And we come back up here. Ooh, maple doesn't taste that bad. And we'll do this again. Now, I used to use a parting tool to do this, but what I like about using this square scraper is I can take a wider cut, and my tool rests on that band where I've cut a lot easier, and I'm less likely to make a mistake. There we go. So that's our 1/4. Come here. And now we have Woody roughed out, and we're ready to start making the beads which make the snowman. Okay, so I have a spindle gouge now to start making the beads. And if you notice, we now have a smaller tool rest. Robust makes an amazing line of tool rests that allow you to get into any size project. And it's really handy to have. I mean, it makes my life a lot easier. If you're trying to put a big old tool rest out there right now, ain't gonna work. So what I want to do, we're gonna turn the lathe on. I have my RPMs up pretty high right now because when you're turning something this narrow and small, you need speed to help you out. So to start making this bead, one trick I like to do instead of curving it from the beginning is I want to come straight across at about a 45-degree angle here, because that wood's going to go away no matter what when I start making my bead. So now I'm at the center of it, so I'm just going to start to curve, and you can see I've got my curve going. Now I come in here, voila, look at that, I'm getting my bead made that quickly. I'm going to go back to the middle section now, do the same thing, and bring this into where I have my little intersection right there. Gonna do it one more time. And now I know where my mark is for the bottom side of this bead, and I'm gonna start rolling it over. And just be very careful when you come to the intersection between the pieces of the snowman. You don't want Woody to look really weird. But one thing, keep in mind, snow melts. Snow is unusual. So you've got snowmen of all sizes. Some are perfectly round, some are squatty. You can't do this wrong. It's going to look really cool. So what I want to do now, I'm just going to keep doing the same procedure back and turn the middle and the bottom. So I have now taken the liberty to draw out the eyes, the nose, and the buttons for the snowman, and the holy grail, the holes for the arms. But we cannot drill or sand yet, because when we drill, it's going to tear up the wood. That's why we want to drill the holes before we sand. But before we sand, we need to go find the arms. So we're going to go cut some twigs. Man, it's a little bit pee today. It's about 30 degrees. We lost our Japanese maple, so I'm having to use a burberry, which is very sticky. So being the gardener I am, I have my wire strippers that cut some branches off here. And we want to find some with a fork in them, and we want to get some with different thicknesses. So hopefully they'll ow! We'll start over. But hopefully they will match the holes we want to drill on this snowman. Woody, we're gonna give you some arms. Here we come. So here's an example of a arm ready to go. I took the thorns off because obviously it's not thorny the snowman, but you want this little wing here so you can have basically arms and hands. So the cool thing about this is your drill is going to help you out a lot when you do the drilling. You want all the buttons and eyes to sit flat. So you use the drill to be perpendicular, parallel, whatever. You want it to be the angle you want the piece to be, if that makes sense. So if there's a curve here, you've got a curve with it. The arms are a good example. If I want the arms to come up and out, this shows me where they're going to be. So we're going to go ahead and start with the eye first. Don't worry, Woody. It'll be over in a minute. So, drilling's over, right? Well, almost. This hat's held onto the tenon, so we have to drill a 3/8 inch hole into Woody's head. Ooh, now that Woody's all sanded, all we have to do is part him off. Come in here, make an initial cut. That's our base. We make a relief cut. Now what I want to do is I want to take this and angle up and in just a little bit, so when Woody sits down, he's sitting on the edges of his snowball. Come here, I'm going to put my hand under here, and there he goes. Woody is free. Okay, well you can see that Woody right now is a shell of a man from what he's going to be when we're done. So we're going to start turning the eyes, the nose, the button, and the hat. Now there's all different measurements for those things so it looks unique. So what I've done is I made a little jig up here. So you can see I have the different diameters that we're making each object. And so I can come up to with my calipers and take that measurement when I do the nose, then the eyes, then the buttons, and the dowel that we're going to make on each one. So it makes it very easy when you're doing all these stupid little measurements. So what I've got a bunch of these ebony cutoff blanks that I used when I was making pins. They're perfect for this project. They're about a 1/2 inch wide, and so I'm not wasting a lot of that really expensive wood. I have one mounted in the chuck right now. You just slide it into the center of the chuck, crank it down, and it grabs it and centers it really well. I'm going to have to put my cheaters on for this because this is really tiny stuff. I have 2 calipers set up. This caliper is the width of my eyes, so that's what we're going to start with first. So I'm going to spin this up. You're going to see it's a little bit out around. That always happens. I'm going to grab our carbide here and just gently push in and clean that up so we have a little nice straight surface for a second here. So I'm going to come in with my calipers. It's going to take a second to get down to depth. So this is the eye, and it is 11/64 of an inch. You can make easier math on yourself if you want to. Do different diameters. You can make your snowman any size you want to. You can supersize this to make life easier. So that's 1/64 of an inch for the eye. So now I have that, I'm going to go back a little bit. And again, that's what's cool about the square scraper is I can just keep moving back, and when it touches flat, I have that diameter. So that's really cool. So I'm going to grab my spindle gouge now and very gently just round this off. It's kind of a one-shot deal. We're not going to have to be too exciting about this. And then I'm going to bring in another little tool of mine. Right here, I want to make sure I get that really clean. It's very tiny. It's very, very small right there. Nice clean cut there. We're going to go for my 1/16 inch parting tool. And we're going to come in here. I'm not going to move my tool rest. I'm just going to tilt it down and come in here. And I'm just going to make a slight delineation there. I'm not going to go all the way down to the tenon depth, because if I go to the tenon depth, when we apply our finish here in a second, it's going to get wax on the tenon and it won't glue. So I'm going to start at 320, and then we're going to sand this up to 400. Make sure this is 320. Yep, that's 320. And I'm not moving my tool rest or anything. This is tiny turning. You're not going to get in trouble. And I don't have to have any breathing protection on for something this small. That's the good thing. So we rub that in. Okay. You're going to come here. Now this is 400. This ebony is incredible. You'll get a beautiful finish on it from sandpaper. But the thing that I really like to do is over here. We are going to polish the ebony, and we're going to use Yorkshire grit. I said it right. Those British guys aren't going to get after me for saying Yorkshire anymore. So it comes in abrasive paste, which is brown, and then microfine, which is white. So guess which one you start with first? You start with the brown, but you barely need any. We're working on something so tiny, you just need a little tiny dollop. So we want to really crank her up here. I said, look, that's a little tiny thing there, isn't it? So we just push that on there, and we put a little pressure on here. We're going to use the other part of the cloth to kind of clean off the excess. See how it got down in that little gap there? So if we had turned the tenon to the exact diameter, we'd have wax and paste on there, which, like I said, would affect the glue job. It's shiny already. Now let's go for the white. Isn't that a lot? Ow! There's a chuck there. Okay, I'm going to push. You got to use some pressure. The speed creates heat and friction, so that makes it do its job. And that is the shiniest darn little eyeball you've ever seen. Now what I want to do is take my other calipers, and I'm going to have to take my tiny, tiny parting tool here and come in, and we're going to part down to the diameter of the tenon. If you go a little small, that's good, because it guarantees that you'll get this thing in the hole that you drilled. And again, it's hard to see, but I want to come in just at a little bit of an angle here and push in and undercut that eyeball so it will sit flat on Woody's head. So, how do you get this sucker off here without losing it? I'm going to come over here now and part this down. This piece of ebony is phenomenally strong. It's an amazing, amazing piece of wood. I can take that very, very thin right there. See how tiny that is? Look how my fingers come into the shot. So I'm going to turn this off. Okay, can I do this? Look how little that is. So I'll take this, wiggle it, and it snaps off just like that. Now, this is super important. You're going to lose this thing in about 2 seconds. I can't tell you how many of these I've dropped. So what I've built over here is I have a safety cup. It goes in my cup. But see that down there? That's a screw. I screwed this cup into this piece of wood, so I'm not going to be knocking that doggone thing over when I have it full of buttons and eyes and noses. Okay, now we've got the eyes and buttons done. That's precious cargo there that I'm gonna drop probably. So we're gonna do the nose, and have got my diameter here. It is 3/16 of an inch. By the way, the buttons are 5/32 of an inch. If you want to get that picky, they're just smaller than the eyes are. No, heck, it's that. There you go. Read it yourself. I never get numbers right. I'm dyslexic. Anyway, if you want to be that picky, go with that stuff. Again. So, to make the nose look like a carrot, we have Paduk in here, which makes a really cool orange color. So, I've changed my jaws. I'm holding out a little 1-inch blank right there. And so, we're going to whack away at that and turn this into a wonderful carrot nose. So I've been working on the hat here, and it's the same procedure as doing the snowman. You basically have some diameters to work with. The top of the hat is 7/8 of an inch across. Right down here, the narrow part is 3/4 of an inch, and the brim is 1 1/8 inch, and the total height of the hat is around 7/8 of an inch to maybe an inch in height. So I'm cleaning up the top right there. And now what I want to do for a hat band is I want to take the Easy Wood, this is a really cool point tool, and come in here and make a mark right there, and then come up a little bit, maybe 1/8 of an inch, and make another mark. So those marks are cool, but you can't really see them. So what I'm going to do is use a burning wire and come up here with the wire. The wire has handles on it so you won't get your fingers caught on the wire. And there it smokes, it's made a black mark, and it's made a black mark. So now we've got our hat done except for sanding and parting it off and leaving a 3/8 inch tenon that's going to go into the head of Woody. Oh no! Okay, so we have Woody's hat on his head, but he has no style. My head hurts. So what we're going to do is we're going to sand his head. Oh no. And we got our disc up here. So we want the hat to tilt forward like that. So we're going to bring his head in like this. And we're going to sand it a bit. And by putting that angle on there, put his hat in now. And you can see how it starts to angle. What we might have to do is take the hat now and take a little edge off of that dowel like so. So when it's in here, it's not hitting the side. There. Now we have a jaunty look. There we go. I've used some medium cyanoacrylate to hold the hat in. That's good. So what I want to do before I put in his eyes and buttons and stuff is to put on a hand rub polyurethane. I want to keep his finish dull and satiny. I want the eyes and the carrots and the carrot nose and everything to stand out and be shiny. The reason I went out and picked twigs for the arms, by the way, is that they're replaceable. They're going to break each year, right? Well, you can make this into a tradition with your grandchildren or your kids or whatever, and each year go out and find new arms for Woody. I think that'd be pretty cool. So let me finish this putting on here. We'll dry that up a little bit, and then we're going to be ready to assemble Woody. That is how you make Woody the Snowman. So until the next time on Wood Turning, keep turning.
Happy birthday, holidays!
Tim's American Beauty was made by Robust Tools, America's premier lathe manufacturer. Quality hardened tool rests and live centers too. Robust. Built to turn wood. Enjoyed for a lifetime.
Easy Wood Tools, best in class carbide wood turning tools.